morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show today, Monday, 16th June 2022. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday and I know it's cold, so I hope you're keeping warm out there. I am your host, Zipporah Mshala, and I'm joined by my co-host, Miriam Kemba. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning, Zipporah. How are you?
I'm feeling very cold, as you can imagine.
But you just say I hope you just told the viewers that you hope they're keeping warm, but you're not putting anything warm. What's wrong with you?
It's natural heat.
Okay.
Natural heat.
Okay. I see. How is your morning going so far?
It's all right so far. Just going to wake ourselves up with the morning boost, because I'm sure I'm still feeling a bit sleepy.
Yeah.
And still in the weekend mood. But basically today we've got some very interesting topics for our viewers out there, and we hope our viewers will actually be able to join and give us calls. So at 7:30 we're going to be joined by Mr. Francis Kamwena, who is a human rights activist who's going to talk about the working conditions of truck drivers. So I've seen that international truck drivers go through a lot, and many of them have been complaining of not having any form of social security. These people also go through things such as xenophobia when they're in other countries. So what best can be done to improve the working conditions of truck drivers? And at 8 hours, we're going to be joined by Mr. Makai, who's the Secretary General for the Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia, so who's just going to talk about depoliticization of the civil service and other labor issues. How best can the civil service in Zambia be made productive and improve? And so, Miriam, just before we go into our interview, we have to stretch a little bit. I hope you're ready.
Every time I come on this show, Zipporah, I always emphasize the need to exercise every day in the morning before you start your day. It's very, very, very important. I do that at home every single day. I don't know if you do that.
It's actually good. I don't mind doing it. Every day, mind it. So let's have the morning boost.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Boost. I'm sure you've been following our programs and not just watching but also trying to exercise. So welcome, and today we're going to be working on the abs. All right, let's go. Warm up. Let's go. Same jumping jacks. Instead of going all the way up, this time here we go. That's your warm-up today. Go. All right. So that's a 1 minute warm up. Let's do some abs workout now. Okay. As you can see, I came with a bottle of water. We're going to do some Russian twists. There you go. Get a bottle, put it down there. If you have a dumbbell, good for you. I'm going to sit here, working on the abs. Lean back a bit. There you go. 1. 7. 10. Okay. Go to the second one. We're going to come back to this one. Here we go. You lie down. That was 10. I'm going to do another 10. Let's go. That's 10. Bring back the bottle. Let's go 10. 8, and 9, 10. Go down. Let's go 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the set, which is 40. If you want after that, you can take a break. Let's do another one now. Still on the abs. Okay. I'm gonna be now sliding on the side. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 15-second break. Then you go back to the workout again. Another 10. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many? 8, 9, 10 for those that are watching on Facebook. So that's 20. Here we go now. Elbow to knee crunches. And then we start doing it. Okay. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Change. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So you've done your abs workout for today. And we do that again. And it's going to work out fantastic for you. Let's cool down. I only have seconds to my 5 minutes now. And very soon I'll be signing out. So that's how you do your abs workout. We did 3, if you noticed. So let's go march and start cooling down. March, march, march. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I've enjoyed my session with you. Looking forward to train with you again. Let's go.
So I hope you had a wonderful time exercising, because I did. Miriam, I can see I've been out of breath. How was the exercise?
I tried my best. I tried my best. But like I said, I always do that every day in the morning, Zipporah. Like I do. Yeah. You know, I'm used. It's part of me, you know, it's part of me. But it's very, very important that you exercise each and every single day in the morning, just to keep fit. You know, the doctors always advise that. And talking about the doctors, every day on our show, Zipporah, we always have Health Corner, where we have doctors from the Women Medical Association telling about different health conditions, you know, and it's very, very important that, yeah, you tuned in and listen to what exactly they have for us. But in case there are those who would like to sponsor the show, the Doctor's Corner is up for sponsorship. Please do so that you can continue having the doctors on this breakfast show in the morning to update you on healthy issues. And Zipporah, every Saturdays, in case you have a question, you are a viewer out there, you have a question regarding with different health condition, we have the doctors every single Saturday. They are live in the studio. Yeah.
Definitely. And so just now, we're going to be joined by Dr. Ma Asomba, who's going to help us discuss hepatitis B. We've heard about many signs and symptoms of hepatitis B, but then to avoid speculations, let's have the doctor join us and explain to us what hepatitis B is.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Ma Asambang from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Today I'll be discussing hepatitis B. Hepatitis B is a global health concern. because millions of people die from it. And actually, in reference to Zambia, it has affected many, especially adults who have been born with parents who have been diagnosed with hepatitis B. Now, hepatitis B is a virus that causes an infection to the liver. What happens is the liver's function becomes compromised. You may ask, how so? Well, the liver is responsible for digestion. For example, when you take that tablet of Panadol, your liver is responsible for breaking it down. Perhaps you may even take food. Well, your liver also has a role to play. Perhaps you may also take alcohol. Now that is where your liver dysfunction may become worse. With hepatitis B, it is progressive. What I mean by that is sometimes you may not present with a symptom nor a sign, and it may come as a surprise when you go to the clinic and get diagnosed with hepatitis B. Unlike HIV, hepatitis B requires for a constant follow-up, and it also depends on the case that is presented before us. There are several causes of hepatitis, I might add. And before I delve deeper into hepatitis B, please note that there are 5 types. Aside from hepatitis B, there is A, C, D, and E. Now, you may ask what the difference is between all these types. When it comes to A and C, these are transmitted via fecal-oral route. That simply means that someone can acquire it from contaminated water or food. Now, when it comes to hepatitis B, D, and E, those are transmitted via blood. So, for example, if someone has sex with someone who has hepatitis B without protection, without a vaccination, then their likelihood of acquiring hepatitis B is very high. Now, speaking back on transmission, aside from sexual intercourse, it is possible to acquire it from an infected needle, syringe, or any sharp object. And so you may find that someone who is a drug user may present with hepatitis B because the virus thrives for approximately 7 days. So it is unlike HIV, whereby the exposure may be a lot less. However, needless to say, it is possible to get the hepatitis B virus via blood. Also to mention, it can be transmitted from mother to child. And so if a mother who presents with hepatitis B does not know that she is positive and her child is not vaccinated, then the likelihood of the baby having hepatitis B is very high. Facts have shown that hepatitis B presents in adults who were perinatally or who had the virus transmitted to them during birth is very high, as opposed to children who had their parents tested and who received the vaccination. It is of note that it can present during adulthood. When it does present during adult, monitoring is necessary. Now, when it comes to hepatitis B, you need to ensure that you obtain the necessary care, which includes diagnosis. It includes having your liver function tested. It includes knowing your hemogram, or in simple terms, your hemoglobin, your platelet count, having an ultrasound done to ensure that your liver is not injured. We also have a fibroscan done for our patients. And so, as I said, hepatitis B cases are unique. There is no one fits all. It is of note that hepatitis B is not curable, but treatable. Studies have shown that a few patients present with a negative hepatitis B test and have an undetectable viral load. However, this does not mean that it cannot present once again. Why do I say so? Because it is possible to be exposed to the virus again. Hence, hepatitis B is not curable. For the most part, it is treatable. It is also of note that hepatitis B can be protected, or rather, prevented against. How so? Via vaccination. And as I mentioned, it is possible for a baby to have the virus if they are not protected within 24 hours. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, I'm Dr. Asambang from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Until tomorrow.
I hope you did enjoy that healthy corner where the doctors have continued to bring us a different health condition aspect just to highlight some of the things, in the healthy field that people are going through. But anyway, Zipporah, I hope you did learn one or two things with regards to the topic of discussion this morning on the healthy corner with the doctors. What are some of your take-home points?
Well, definitely, I learned a lot. Hepatitis B has got similar symptoms to HIV and AIDS. Those are some of the things. But then I feel like it should also be highly publicized, because I'm sure if you followed through, it's transmitted mainly through the same way that HIV AIDS is, and you also have to make sure that there's that mother-to-child prevention and all those other things. So it's a very, very serious condition, and it mainly affects the liver, which means your health is really going to deteriorate. But anyway, moving on, we're going to have the money market, which is also up for sponsorship, just like the health segment. So let's take a look at today's money market. So we have the United States dollar, which is buying at 16 kwacha 85 ngwe, selling at 17 kwacha 18 ngwe. We have the euro, which is buying at 18 kwacha 89 ngwe, selling at 19 kwacha 26 ngwe. The Great British Pound, which is buying at 21 kwacha 14 ngwe, selling at 21 kwacha 55 ngwe. The South African rand, which is buying at 1 kwacha 11 ngwe, and selling at 1 kwacha 11 ngwe. So that's your money market. Miriam, your thoughts on the US?
Basically, Zipporah, I like the fact that the kwacha has been stable for quite some time, and we hope to see, depreciate more, because as when we have the kwacha being high and stuff like that, the cost of living goes up. You'll find people having challenges in terms of, especially those who are doing businesses. Anyway, everyone is affected, I must say. But we hope, I think on Saturday we did visit one of the compounds in Kanyama, where a lot of residents there were complaining, who do small businesses, were hoping that we can have the dollar going on a single digit, and that is what we are hoping for. Of course, the current administration has promised the people of Zambia, and we hope to see that promise get to be fulfilled. Yeah.
Yes, and just a reminder that our money market is up for sponsorship, just like the health segment. And just now, we're going to take a look at one of yesterday's stories. So yesterday we had a story from Zingalume, that is that area, Chunga Zingalume area, and the story was about this poor road along Dayanaka. So the road has been in a poor state for a long time, and so we can just take a look at that story and be back to discuss in detail.
One might think rainy season is still on, when in fact not. Poor road network and lack of a proper drainage system in Lusaka still remain a challenge. This is Lusaka's Chunga and Zingalume compounds in Matero constituency, while the Chunga-Zungalume road in Mwembeshi Ward 21 has been in a terrible state for some years. Residents in the area explain that the road has not been worked on for over 5 years and becomes impassable, especially during rainy season.
Okay, so chanitipempa kumuka kudana kaimba kutoka ku road kwati pa roundabout ngofika kuno. Chanitanda kuna road ni road chabe. And then tipempa kwa kansela batianganeko because my business yabwera down tipe kwanitinga kali na help. So at least akatipangira ku road. At least vantu zambo bwera ku Jamaica ba ku boti kula kwa batifu.
Kwanisa kufita mbili mamoto ba. Nero ga ripoti bonse kunaimiri achikwa mamoto ba.
Some public transport bus drivers explained to this reporter that governments have come and go, but the state of the road has not seen any facelift. They attributed the poor state of the road to lack of commitment to resolve the problem from the relevant authorities.
Rotikambe sivishitika zingalomero dinama ngeranga chimungani drainage. Ero simona monto kati tiru insurance plus road tax bonse timasukira manje mamoto kati onongeka. Mwaona ka so stizo manje government vice transition road yapi Zingalume. Stizo manje president manje vanaganizira kapena ma ministers wakuno kapena kuli MP kapena kuli bero ndani kapena kuli bero kansela kuno. Na kansela kuno sama pitako zatona pa utona.
But when reached for a comment, Mwembeshi Ward 21 Councillor Crispin Kabole's phone went unanswered. Roads make a crucial contribution to economic development and growth and bring important social benefits. One only hopes the road will be worked on to ease the movements of the people and the motorists. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
So there you have it. That was a story from Zingalume, where some residents are complaining about the poor road network. Just now, moving to our first interview, we are joined by Mr. Francis Kamwena, who is a human rights activist, just to help us discuss the working conditions of truck drivers in Zambia and other labor issues. Good morning, Mr. Francis.
Good morning, Zifora.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
How is your morning so far?
No, the morning is just okay, despite experiencing, weather from Europe.
Yeah, I can imagine everyone is complaining about the weather. And
that's not even that cold. In Europe, the same it freezes, ice and all that.
Exactly.
Those people coming, I'm sure this can be like good weather for them. Because they're used to extreme weather conditions.
Exactly. But anyway, before we go into details playing into our interviews, I would like to, we did some of the stories with regards to how the truck drivers were complaining about different poor conditions, and this has been quite a topic of discussion of late, and we haven't seen much to be changed, and we hope anyway, as Mr. Francis is here, you'll be able to help us tackle more issues with regards to that. But anyway, yeah.
And just a reminder to our viewers, the phone lines are now open. So we're talking about labor issues today in specific, and we're looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, and with SDG number 8, aiming to achieve decent work for all by 2030. But what are the working conditions for international truck drivers right now? If you look, are they given any form of social security? Are they protected from things such as xenophobia when they go internationally? And so just take a look at some stories that we compiled that is on the truck drivers, and we're back to discuss in detail, and we've opened the phone lines. Do join us and give us your call. So let's take a look at the story on truck drivers. The practice of casualization of workers in Zambia is one that has continued to hinder progress towards the attainment of decent work for all by 2030. Many workers in Zambia, especially those in industry, still lack contracts and have no form of social security due to this. This means that even in the case of an eventuality or retirement, these have no savings to fall back on. Such is the case of these 4 cross-border truck drivers, representing a total of 19, who allege that the company they worked for, known as Huria Couriers, has left them destitute after its sudden closure last week. The former employees allege that they were never given contracts despite asking for them, nor do they have any savings at the National Pension Scheme Authority NAPSA, despite some of them having worked for 9 years.
After company wavala mamoto kabagulisa, so ise tafutika kuti nanga nakutipisha so chabe kulibera chili chose cheba natipasa apart from ndalama tuwe tunasebenzera kuchokera kwetu tunachoka ku Congo kufikira ku South Africa, not even covid money, not even transport. Ufika che kuja motoka yako bagulisa na kukupisha umotoka vintu vinativuta maningi kufikira pamene tilili pano.
So apatipemba ba government mutianga nepo mutiavye kwa abantu aba banatishita kuipa so that kapena at the end of the day my families yatu angashite bwanji angashiteko benefit.
There is no way community nakizaenda tingene nchito pasani kanila tiwakota manje maezi yanga yonse yaenda for 7 years kusenza mahala kwa mene naenda Muzambia kunukonsi bakambati mwakula sibatufuna nchito
nda maezi amene tasebenza ndiye ambidi so tipemba kuboma kuti itiyanganeko kuti ingatitandize mbwanji.
Meanwhile, a human rights activist, Mr. Francis Kamwena, has urged the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to act on the matter.
These ministries, more especially Ministry of Labour, they are doing nothing. Even these labor offices, you know, they're acting, they're even saying, no, we are not enforcers of the law. But why should people go there? Why should people go there? They are there to help people who cannot understand their laws.
In a phone interview, Horia Couriers company accountant Mr. Morton Sharper alleges that all the workers were informed that they were employed on piecework basis, regardless of how long they have worked.
You drive the truck from South Africa to Congo back. If it is from Zambia, you reach Zambia, you get back to South Africa, you get your wage.
Camnet News has since reached out to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security over the same matter. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Tuesday, the Juba Transport Limited has refuted the allegation of abandoning Mr. Sulomba in a foreign country, contrary to information circulating on some social and mainstream media. According to the company, all necessary procedures followed to repatriate the deceased back to Zambia. Mr. Chishapiri is the corporate director.
Moved from the hospital and was in the course of being brought back to Zambia. Parallel to the information circulating in social media, an additional allegation was being peddled to the effect that management for Juba Transport Limited only cared to bring back the truck Mr. Silumba was driving instead of focusing on repatriating the body of the deceased. This allegation was unfounded because the paperwork involved in recalling a truck is incomparable to the procedures and documentation for repatriating a deceased person's body. Notwithstanding the procedural challenges, documentation and language barriers which needed to be surmounted, the repatriation team earnestly expedited the repatriation and preparation of the deceased body.
According to the company, it took 6 days to repatriate the body, and this was due to some procedure delays in Mozambique.
All the persons that had caused the accident. So the family wanted to meet them, right? So the police were saying, okay, we'll meet at 14 hours. Tuesday ended. Or we'll meet at in the morning at 9 hours. We couldn't even meet them. Even as we were leaving the place itself, we had actually not met the family itself. They said that the family lives in Shinoy. When we were going, we passed Shinoy, but any arrangements by the police proved to be difficult to move for the family of the deceased to meet the family or the person actually who had actually caused that accident. And that is where there is this insinuation that the police also tried to conceal the person who actually caused the accident. And the family was hurt and was offended because the police could not actually help.
This matter, where we were denied access to them. What we were told is that, well, you pursue it privately, you sort it out yourselves. So we had no access even to the public prosecutor, who would ordinarily have helped us to conclude this whole process of the death.
Going forward, the company has assured its commitment to support the family as regards to benefits. Mr. Sulomba was put to rest in Chingola on 19th March 2022. Alex Shumba, Camnet News, in Lusaka.
So there you have it. Those are two stories showing just what kind of working conditions that international truck drivers have. And like I said earlier, we're talking about achieving decent work for all by 2030. But what is the state of maybe working conditions for people such as truck drivers, these jobs that are not considered as formal jobs. And so, Mr. Francis, maybe just to get a head start on the interview, what is your overall view of how truck drivers are working right now?
Actually, the working of truck drivers, more especially in Zambia, is quite pathetic. You know, there's no any social security, you know, there's no any protection to them. The way they are moving, I'm telling you, it's like when a truck driver leaves home, tells the wife and the children that I don't know if I'm going to come back. By God's grace. Because whenever they go, you know, when they reach Congo, more especially South Africa and the DRC Congo, you know, there's a lot of things involving. You know, thieves are there attacking them with guns, a lot of things. And then moreover, you find that when a truck driver is being attacked, you know, the owners of that company and the vehicle, they say it's his own fault or its own carpenter to fly. You see, where all the things that are going to be destroyed there, maybe if the vehicle has been tempered, you know, when he comes back, that person, they are going to deduct on is the money that they have arranged to give him. You see, actually, I have also, I think, one of the driver is my neighbor. He went to Congo. Actually, the front, you know, the front mirror of the vehicle had a crack as he was moving, and that mirror from the front, you know, part went out. It wasn't his fault. So when the traffic, you know, police came in, they arrested him. They say you cannot be driving with this kind of a vehicle. But when the owner of that truck, the company came, they never went there to say, oh, when he was getting that truck, that mirror had a crack. They just went there and retrieved their vehicle and leaving that truck driver in the cell. So tell me now how people can survive. And all these things are, all these issues are, you know, the Zambian government sees. More especially when we are talking about the labor, Ministry of Labor. You know, they're custodian of that law. They are the owners of those labor laws. They don't say anything. When you go to all those offices, they welcome, first of all, it will make you to react. I remember when I went at Boma, we started quarreling with one of our labor officers. What he was telling me, it was not okay. So for me to go out, I don't know what was in my mind. I end up, you know, bashing the door. The following day when I came, he said, I think you are the one who wanted to remove the door here. I said, because the way you are talking to me. You see, so more especially truck drivers, they are not helped.
So really, do you feel like maybe we've put enough laws to protect our own people, or do we just let these people, because most of them are actually international companies, do we just let them come here as long as we can maybe get some investors without really securing the safety of our own citizens?
You know, we feel like, you know, the UPND government came in. I always say the elections that we had, it wasn't, you know, PF and the UPND, it was PF with the people of Zambia, because people wanted change. They used to see what used to happen in a, you know, previous government, where you can't go to any government institution and complain because they are already given something. They are already given something. More especially when you talk of Lebanese, Chinese, Indians, they are fond of going in these offices, you know, with, you know, a saka bag with a lot of money there. Then, as I am, as Mr. Kamwena, going there with my empty-handed, do you think they're going to understand me? The answer is no. So, laws are there, but they are not active. The enforcers of law, they're even saying we are mediators. When an employee and the employer goes to labor offices, you know, the way they are going to interact with them, you even see that, you know, it's not making sense. An employee is supposed to be protected. Because those employers, when they start a company, before they start a company, there are laws which guides them. So that when that company starts, they have to follow those laws. They are not supposed to be told when they go to labor offices. So an employee is the one who is supposed now to be guided when he goes to the labor offices, you know, trying to help that person who doesn't understand laws. But when you go there, it's something else.
Truck drivers are unseen heroes whose contribution to productivity in an economy is often overlooked. We don't talk about how much they contribute to the country's economy. What we have seen so far is bad stories about them. You know, they're involved in kind of illicit activities, different activities. Do you think we are doing enough as a country to help these people?
No, we are not doing enough. We are still very far. We are still behind. We want Ministry of Labour also to to look upon these people, because you find that truck drivers, more especially international drivers, they move from one point to another, one country to another. It's a lot. It's a lot. Already when we see government is receiving, revenue under, all these borders. But those who are crossing all these borders, more especially, Zambian truck drivers, they are suffering.
You have been quite vocal when it comes to addressing issues that international truck drivers faces. Kindly highlight to us some of those challenges, like major challenges that they continue to face as international truck drivers.
There are a lot of challenges. Actually, one of them is that you find that these companies which are coming in the name of investors here, when a truck driver goes there to look for employment, they will receive that person. And then you start waiting, like maybe after 3 months probation, they'll give me a contract. It will be just quiet. And then when he tries to ask, and sometime back, when you just have an employment, it's difficult for you as an employee to ask much, but you are waiting for those people to tell you what's supposed to be done, because they have the laws which they have received. So you find that that person will continue working as if he's on piecework, 8 years, 6 years, no any contract form, no anything. Sometimes we even find that they're even telling that person that there's no salary, but he trip sheet, maybe trip money, where when he goes from, Zambia to South Africa, then coming back, they calculate, they give him something. So when you try to find out, you find that a lot of international truck drivers, they're not even receiving, salaries, not even NAPSA. But the laws of Zambia, they're saying immediately when somebody starts working after probation 3 months, going towards 6 months, that person has to be employed as a permanent worker, given a contract for maybe it's for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending with that company. But we find that it's nothing. Trying to find out if a truck driver has a problem, no NAPSA, no anything, depending just on that, trip which he had. And that person, you find that he even leaves maybe the family for more than 3 months. You see? So there are a lot of challenges, actually, which these people are facing. A lot of them.
Okay. So we're discussing the safety and the working conditions of international truck drivers. So do join us and give us your call. And just overall, the casualization of workers in Zambia, what is the performance of the informal sector, so to say, in these maybe industries and other areas of work? How is the treatment? How most people are not given contracts and all those things. So do join us and give us your call, because the phone lines are now open. Zambia by 2030 hopes to achieve decent work for all. That's sustainable development goal number 8. But with the current conditions right now in the informal sector, do they point towards us achieving that goal? And so, Mr. Kamwene, let's talk about the safety of these truck drivers when they go international. Like we earlier saw a story from Juba Transport where someone died there, and then that person was allegedly left there for a long time. You were earlier mentioning that you have heard of similar stories. So what measures do you feel should be put in place to make sure that our fellow citizens are protected even from issues like xenophobia and other issues when they go out there?
First of all, when a company sends somebody maybe out of Zambia, there are documents which are needed to be given to that person, maybe, a permit. You find that a lot of truck drivers, like the ones I'm dealing with, the cases we have so far right now, you find that they are being taken to South Africa and telling them that you'll be here maybe for a while. They don't have any permit. They are just moving with their passports. And then when they're being caught in South Africa, the company comes in saying, they don't work here. They're coming from Zambia. This is why they're using passports. And then on the other side, they will say they are working part of South Africa. So you find that those people, first of all, documentation is quite poor. So for them to be protected is not easy. More especially in South Africa. When South African, sees that this person has got any permit, meaning he's getting our jobs. He's just moving with a passport, meaning he has not come, it shows that as if he has just come here for a week, but that person spends almost maybe 6 months in South Africa without a permit. And how is that person going to be protected? When that person has a problem, it's very difficult even for, the government to trace that person. So what we are demanding is, when these companies are here, they have to follow the rules. Inspections have to be there. When you go to labor offices, we don't know even the schedule which they have. This time, maybe from Monday to Friday, when do they go for inspections? We don't know. And inspections itself, maybe sometimes when they just wake up and feel like, today, we haven't, prepared any chicken. I think when we go in the field, we may have anything like, they just feel it. They don't have that passion. When you go for a work with, professional but not passion, it becomes difficult for somebody to work. Every person should have passion first on what you are doing. So it's like all these people in these offices, they don't have passion to serve people. This is what we have seen.
So basically you're saying the key is maybe making sure that these people at employment don't employ people using the right procedures, isn't it? Because earlier we were talking about maybe most of these people not even having the correct documents. So it's up to the Ministry of Labour to actually conduct inspections in these companies. For sure.
Okay, Miriam? I know that we have seen quite a lot of court cases being flooded in the Lusaka High Court with regard to the conditions of international truck drivers. What can we say that we are not doing as a country to address their problems? Because we have continued seeing this over and over, them complaining about the different challenges that they are facing.
Some of these cases, despite some, they're in courts. But you find that even if sometimes you prefer that these cases should go to court. I think 2 weeks ago, where I was reading somewhere where they're saying some of our laws in Zambia, they're just, putting those who are, who don't have money down. Those who have got money, that the law saves them. So you find that most of the time when you go to court, number one, court delays. That person has a family. You won't stay at one place just waiting, every time to be going to court. That person will prefer even to start moving, to look for other things so that he can feed the family. Meaning when that person is not even concentrating much, that story has just ended there. Maybe even how to push it. You find that maybe some, they don't understand how things work at court. They need people to help them, and those people need money. Those people need to be paid. Maybe a lawyer, hiring a lawyer. Some of them, they don't know. So you find that they are just going there, whatever they are going to be explained, there are some of the terms in law where it's not everyone who can understand. So you find that all those things, sometimes when they go to court, they even seem to be not making sense.
Are you indirect saying that the court, and because you earlier mentioned that the Ministry of Labour has not put up enough policies to help address their challenges, are you indirect saying that the government has failed the truck drivers, in short?
For sure. This is what we can say. For sure. If people are not helped, if people are crying, they have failed. I think 2 days or 3 days ago, I've just seen, I think, is it in Delhi or Times of Zambia, where, the government has tried to, transfer all the, the major streets at a major street court. I think there's something fishing. We still have people who used to be, in PF, where they still work under PF, mentality, where their doings is not okay. So we need government to start going in, checking and what is happening in all these institutions. People are not helped. When you go to court, I think even now just to take you report to the police how the police are going to take that issue to NPA, from NPA going to court. You find that if that person is not understanding anything, it will just end there.
Moving forward, what are some of the policies that you would want government to put in place to ensure that it adequately addresses the challenges of international truck drivers?
More especially, when we are talking about that, we feel like Ministry of Labour holds a lot of lives of people. apart from all these other, ministries. First of all, Ministry of Labor. When Ministry of Labor put themselves in a very good position, then things will be well. Because private sectors, more especially private sectors, they are suffering. Those people are not attached to the government. The labor laws to them are quite pathetic. Somebody can't even have, enough time. You find that I think there is one sentence which I've just received where when you have your relative has just died, for the company to release you, they're telling you now that you should come with a burial permit. Now imagine my cousin has died, and then after just attending the funeral, then I start telling them that no, I need a burial permit so that I can go and show to the company. Does that make sense? Is there any law which states that? But
those are the conditions that they've put in place for them to ensure that they help you out. They need that.
It's quite pathetic asking a burial permit, more especially to extended family. You have just gone there. Maybe it's your cousin. When you tell the company that, okay, I've lost my cousin, they're there to give you, I think, enough time to go there and, mourn. But now when they're telling you now to come, like, we need a burial permit, just think about it.
All right, definitely. Very interesting. So just take a short break and we're back to conclude on the matter. So let's just take a short break. So welcome back. We just took a short break, and so we continue even as we conclude, really. What could be some of your concluding remarks?
I think one of my concluding remarks is that abrogating of a law, like my sister said, where you find that they're saying some offices are somewhere outside Zambia, but they're operating here. How? Mm-hmm. For me, that is cheating, and it's not even making sense. Number one, they are not even paying tax. They are running away from paying tax. This is why sometimes they say, no, our offices are not here, offices are in South Africa, but, we just have some agencies here. For me, it's not enough. So this is why we are demanding that, for inspection, those labor officers, they should go for inspections. Mm-hmm. I think me standing here, coming here most of the time, has taken one point which I've liked. I think that was on Friday. Mm-hmm. The company-based choice which we are with them at the court, they were being inspected just randomly. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things which, I think inspectors from council have digged out there. So for me, I was happy about it. And I think I received a call from one of people connected to that company saying, here now the management is thinking about you like, you know, you're the one who have just, you know, told those officers to go there. I said, no, I think it's higher time they see us, you know, complaining. They have to go there. They have seen a lot of things, using things which are expired, you know, cooking oil which are not, you know, allowed. They are using, you know, to come up with those snacks, and those snacks are being taken by, you know, a human consumption. So which means, you know, there is a problem. So for me, I feel it. I think government has to put more pressure, more especially on the Ministry of Labor. Ministry of Labor, imagine when you go right now on my conclusion, you know, they're keeping people there as if they're at UTH, maybe hospital, any hospital. You know, a long queues. When somebody goes in, maybe one person will spend 2-3 hours. You know, but, you know, they are there to help and to know how to interact with people. Maybe within 40 minutes, somebody has finished his story. Now, if they are taking maybe one person 2, 3, 4 hours, and then how many people are going to be saved for the day? This is why you find that when you go to labor offices, people are going there every day. You know, he goes there, he was not attended today, no, tomorrow he goes, maybe the whole week, and that person is coming, or maybe far away, maybe using his own transport. This is why you find that at the end he will say, no, they don't work, I've just stopped, I've just left that case just to go like that. Maybe I've just leave my money there. Because when you go there, you find that queues are there, people are not being helped, people are seated. You know, some they even end up, you know, becoming with packed lunch. For me, which is quite pathetic.
Going with packed lunch indeed to make sure that your issues are addressed. Anyway, we have a comment rather on Facebook from one of our viewer out there, Mr. Boyd Njere, who says, that's true, no NAPSA, no pay slip, getting salary on MTN or Airtel, no contact form, we are getting 2,000. Can you make a budget for that? Ministry of Labor, they are doing nothing. He comments again by saying government should change the Minister of Labor. In line with you, what you just earlier said. Yeah, maybe you can tackle that before you conclude.
Yeah, for sure, the person has commented, he knows what he's saying, he knows what he's commenting, not that maybe we are trying to say bad things about the New Dawn government, you know. But I think Ministry of Labor has a problem. Ministry of Labor has a problem. Maybe if the ministers failed, they put another person who is very serious. Because Ministry of Labor holds a lot of lives. Yes.
Don't you think it's quite early to judge at the moment, given the fact that they've only done 9 months in office?
You know, these people, when they were in opposition, they used to see how people are complaining. So for me, I feel like immediately when you're being appointed as a Minister of Labor, you comes in, you change the strategies. Even in 2 months, 3 months, you change the strategies.
Oh, you're
because he has been there when they were in opposition, seeing what their fellow friends were doing, and people were complaining, and they could also see that the poor ministry, out of all the ministries, Ministry of Labor, first of all, Ministry of Labor. When you go there, you just see people, you know, they're just seated in their offices. But I like when I met Labor Commission, I think it's not everyone who is bad, but I was happy with Labor Commission I met at a government complex when we went with truck drivers. I think the way he addressed us, it was quite good. He just told us, look, you know, like, you truck drivers and, you know, the activists, as we are making an appointment, to go back and start preparing about the documentation where when you come, we won't just question those people, you know, just on here. We'll be looking on the documents. If these drivers were moving from one country to another, we'll ask them that these people were working. So we don't want to just, you know, talk things verbally. So we started preparing our documents to take there.
Moving forward, how would you like to see that truck drivers are being recognized as workers who also contribute to the economy to ensure that it thrives?
Actually, for me, I would rather, you know, truck drivers, international truck drivers, even the local ones, you know, government has to consider those people because they are part of production. When you talk of economy, they import, they export. And I remember when I was doing, accounts and all these, commerce, they are there. They contribute a lot. So why should government leave them behind? They have to consider them. They have to make sure, their challenges are being addressed on border sides. You find that they are reaching at the border, they can be there maybe before they enter another country. They can be there maybe for 1 week, 2 weeks. They are not cleared. They go to the other side, more especially when COVID came in. They suffered, those people. They really suffered. And maybe sometimes we even lost some of lives. When they are moving, they are not only moving for their families, they are also moving for our country. They are contributing. So we feel about them.
All right, so that has been our very interesting segment. We are talking about the working conditions for international truck drivers. Just now, we'll take a short break and go into another segment. We are going to be joined by the Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia to talk about other labor issues and depoliticization of the civil service. So thank you very much, Mr. Kamwena, for coming.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so just take a short break. Do join us on the other side.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV. Earlier, before we went on a break, we were discussing about the conditions of Zambian international truck drivers, on how government can help possibly address some of the challenges that they have continued to face. Right about now, we have someone special in the studio. And my co-host Zipporah did earlier introduce our guest. Zipporah, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, so we've been joined by Mr. Makai, who is the General Secretary for the Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia, who is just going to help us discuss the politicization of the civil service and other labor issues. Welcome to the show, Mr. Makai.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers.
Good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful morning despite it being cold.
We are getting used. It's the season.
Someone would say it's cold, but the weather's come very hot. You know, I don't know the mix.
And just maybe just to help us get started, Mr. Makai, we've got a serious issue, for example, in the civil service, where we see that with every change of government, we see that some civil servants are moved from their positions. What are your thoughts on this? Do you feel that this is how the civil service should be handled? Should it be a political matter where some appointments should be political, despite them being civil servants?
Thank you very much for that question, Zipporah. For me, it's a yes and no.
Yes, in the sense that when a new government comes in place, they have their constitution of the party, they have their manifesto of the party, and as they come into government, they would want to come and work with the civil servants who would be able to implement the policies and the manifesto of the party. So now when they come into government and find that those people who should be charged with the responsibilities of making sure that they implement their policies are not doing so because of political inclination, then the government is right to discharge such officers so that they bring in people who they think can implement their manifesto, because every party aspires to be in leadership or in government to lead and be of importance to the citizens. Now if you come into government just to come and play, so to say, play in the sense that you do not want to implement your manifesto, you do not want to implement your constitution, then there was no need for you to be the first person to form a political party. But each person who forms a political party, the desire is to come and give a service to the Zambian people. And they are able to do that by coming up with a manifesto which the Zambian citizens will buy into. So that is where it starts from. So now if you're a political party, you form government, you come into government to find the people who are not able to implement that, how will you achieve your goals? It is impossible. That is the yes part. No, in the sense that the civil service, from inception, it should be an independent body of government whose sole responsibility is to implement the policies of the party in power. That's why when the political party is elected into office, the president, through the constitution, will appoint cabinet ministers. And sitting with his cabinet, they'll come up with the policies, cabinet policies, on how they are going to manage the affairs of the country. So these cabinet policies are translated into ministries and departments of government, and these are the ones now who go further to implement them. So you'll find that the ideal situation of a civil service is that we should have an independent and non-partisan civil service. And if we had such, then it's not necessary for governments to come and change government leaders or professionals every time there's a change of government. Maybe in summary, that's what I can say about it. Should it be that every government should come and fire people? So that's why I was saying yes and no, and this is how I thought I should explain it.
Okay, so right now, do we have, is it in, right now, do we see that picture, or is it politicized right now as it is?
Right now, you discover that in the past regime, between 2011 and 2021, more than 3,000 civil servants were retired in a national interest. So the question we would want to ask is, why were these public service workers retired in national interest? So that is the question which comes. And arising from that, when you interact, because most of these people, some of them were members. And when you ask them, they'll tell you, no, I think me, I was retired because I was perceived to sympathize with a certain political party. And that is where now the problem starts. So when you ask me, is it, how is the situation now? The situation is that civil servants of late have allowed themselves to be politicized. We've seen senior civil servants putting on party regalia. We've seen senior civil servants raising symbols of political parties. They forget that as a civil servant, they should be non-partisan, because when you are a permanent secretary in this ministry, when you are a director in this ministry, people of different political affiliations will come to this office to seek a service because you are government. So now, if you are partisan, for example, you are a supporter of political party A, and a sympathizer of political party B comes to your office, are you going to give him the service? The answer is no. But this is where we have reached, where some permanent secretaries, and in fact, permanent secretaries, most of them, we may not say, we may say that in most cases they are not professionals. I say so because you find that somebody who is specialized in fisheries is appointed to be a minister of agriculture. somebody who's specialized in agriculture is appointed to be a Minister of Home Affairs, so to be a permanent secretary of Home Affairs. So in short, most of the permanent secretaries are not professional civil servants, so to say. And now the situation where we're coming from, why a lot of people found themselves being retired in national interest, even if it was not right, is because the people now started siding with the political parties, which for me was not correct. If you are a civil servant, you should be non-partisan and just implement the policies of the party in power. That's why as civil servants, we always say we work with the party in government. We may not support it, but we are there to implement their policies. As such, we work with that party.
And maybe just speaking of that brings another whole conversation. So do you feel that, for example, someone who's a Minister of Information should be someone with maybe a background in communications and so forth, just like that? Do you feel that maybe this will maybe improve productivity in the civil service?
Not necessarily. At ministerial level, the president has got the power and the right to appoint whoever he feels can perform in that office. But I think if we shall be given a privilege to amend the constitution, if the constitution be amended, I think the best is what we recommended in the past, that ministers should be appointed from outside parliament. If we reach such a stage, it would mean those ministers who be appointed from outside parliament should be professional ministers. If you appoint somebody to be Minister for Information, then they should have that background, communication background, and they should be experts in that field. If you appoint somebody to be a Minister of Agriculture, they should have that background of agriculture. So only when we reach that stage where the constitution will say the president shall appoint ministers from outside the parliament, that way it can work out. The way it is now, the president appoints ministers from within the parliament, and he is limited in terms of choice. That's why we see people are just appointed to institutions where they don't even have a background.
Just to re-echo on your earlier statement, you said, like what we have seen quite in the past, where we have different civil servants being inclined to certain political parties and show it in public that they support this kind of party. How do you think this has negatively affected the civil service?
To start with, immediately you start politicizing the civil service. You compromise on the quality of people in certain offices. Because now the merit, you will not consider merit in appointments, you will not consider merit in implementing the policies. What you consider is, okay, I'm here because I was appointed by this party and therefore I should dance to the tune of this political party. And immediately you reach a point where meritocracy is left or is put aside, then you do not expect development in the country. Because a country develops when the public service or the civil service is professional. But when you start to have cadres in professional offices, then you start to compromise the quality of service you are giving to the citizens.
Okay, and so Mr. Makai, we've seen, like, for example, if I can give an example of the Lusaka, maybe the local authorities. Recently we saw the Local Government Service Commission taking an audit of these institutions, maybe to sieve some of these so-called alleged cadres maybe. So do you feel that maybe other sectors of the civil service should have a similar exercise conducted, given allegations that maybe happened in the past, if what to actually improve the performance of the civil service?
I may not know the outcome of the audit which the Local Government Service Commission undertook in the local government. But from the preliminary comments, we heard that some people were holding positions even without necessary qualifications. So if that is true, that is where now political leaders, I say, they are not fair to their country. Even if they aspire to lead the country, but when they are given that privilege by us as citizens, they turn against what they promised us and do other things. Because in the first place, why would you employ somebody who is not qualified into a position where you know that that position will need to give service to the people? So that's where it starts from. So if what the preliminary indications from the Local Government Service Commission are correct and they are factual, then it simply means that this government has got a lot of work to do. And therefore, it is welcome that what has happened in the Local Government Service Commission, these other service commissions, especially the Civil Service Commission, the Teaching Service Commission, should also do those audits. Because if it is true with the Local Government Commission, then it means it should be true with these other service commissions. And which means that we cannot develop as a country if we have got unqualified people in key positions of government.
Okay, definitely. And so just to our viewers out there, the phone lines are now open and you can call and give us your view on the matter. We're talking about the politicization of the civil service. So what can be done to make the civil service more productive for the development of our country? And talking about productivity, Mr. Makai, the civil service is said, or should I say, workers from the civil service are allegedly lazy. What's your comments on that?
Basically, we know that the role of civil servant is to implement policies and programs of government to achieve the much desired economic development. But we have seen of late others being absent, others going late for work. You know, there are these alleged jacket, the whole day.
I want to categorically differ with you on the fact that you are alleging that civil servants or public service workers are lazy. So, for me, the truth is generally, to some extent, we as Zambians have got poor attitude towards work. Quote me right. Generally, to some extent, we as Zambians, we have got a poor attitude towards work. It's not only the public service. I mean, the private sector. Even in the private sector, the attitude is not good. One, people report for work late. Two, they would want to knock off early. Three, there are a lot of excuses on the way. From between Monday and, you know, my child is sick, I'm taking the child to school. You make a follow-up find that this person has gone to do something else. So, this issue of work attitude.
Let me just hold your thought. We have a caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, are you able to get us? Okay, it seems we lost that caller, but in case you want to be part of this discussion this morning, please do give us a call, send us a message on Facebook. We'll be able to read through those messages. Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying the issue of attitude towards work or poor attitude towards work is generally, and unless we reach a point where individually we accept that we should change and improve on our attitude towards work, then this country will not develop. Because attitude towards work is something that motivates you to do the best. Of course, yes, I agree with you. I visited one hospital in Osaka around the 6:30. I know cleaners are supposed to report at that time, but they were reporting at 7 hours, 7:30, and 8 hours. The clinical officers, the doctors, are supposed to attend to patients, but the cleaners will be pushing the patient. No, we're still cleaning. But
please stand here and someone is in pain.
I've gone in certain shopping malls. I'm looking for something. This person who is there to guide me is seated. And one time I even advised one to say, are you aware that the money I'm going to leave here is the money that this Chinese is going to use to pay your salary? But you are there seated. I have to fend for myself. I have to find things that I'm looking for. Meanwhile, you are employed to come and guide customers here. So when you talk about attitude towards work, generally, to some extent, we have got a poor attitude towards work. And we should improve on that. We should improve on that. You go into an organization, the secretary to the chief executive officer, you say, good morning, madam. She will answer you good morning, looking on the computer. If the boss around, you know he's not around. She's not even looking at you. So the attitude is just generally poor. So we should just improve. Let us be convinced within ourselves as Zambians that can we improve on our attitude towards work. Of course, I've said to some extent because there are people who have got very good attitude towards work. If it is time of reporting, they report at the rightful time. They knock off at the rightful time. But here, we even have got the audacity to say, boss, I came late because of congestion. Should you give an excuse of congestion? It's not right to give an excuse of congestion. If you know that I'm supposed to report for work at 7 hours, and by 6:30 there's serious congestion, start off at 5. In the first place, you applied for this job, and you are happy being in that job. But here in Zambia, private or public sector, we have such excuses to say, I was late because of traffic, which is sad.
And most people have been alleging that maybe because people know that the civil service, once you get a job in the civil service, is permanent and pensionable. Could you be maybe is it good to introduce issues like maybe contracts? Can that maybe wake people up a bit?
Currently in government there are some contracts, but mostly it is permanent and pensionable. But to be permanent and pensionable doesn't mean that you should be lazy on your job. You should have a poor attitude towards your job. To be permanent and pensionable is just a way of being secure in the job. But as you are employed in government, you are given, you have got a code of ethics in the civil service, we have got terms and conditions of service. And to say that when you're employed in the government, you cannot be fired. No, we've heard people being fired. Because if you go against the terms and conditions of service, then obviously the controlling officers will take responsibility and make sure that they discipline you. And in the process of disciplinary actions, there's even dismissal. If you steal, it's instant dismissal. If you abscond yourself for 10 consecutive days, it's instant dismissal. So it's not right to say that if you are employed in the public service, then you have got a secure job. No.
I remember, you would carry probably a story where you have pupils complaining that my teacher was telling me, or rather she was telling us that even if I don't teach you guys, I'll still get paid by the government. We have heard such kind of stories.
Yes, they can be true, they can be false, but the issue comes back to attitude. When you went to college as a teacher or as this professional and you graduated and applied for a job in this ministry or in that sector, what was in your heart? You wanted to give a service to this country as a teacher, as a clinical officer, as a nurse, as a bricklayer, as a metal fabricator. You wanted to give a service to this country so that our country can develop. Now, after being employed, you feel you are secure, and then you say, even if I don't perform, I can still be, I'll still get my job. In government, there is annual appraisal performance forms where every year people are appraised. Maybe what needs just to be done is the implementing agency, which is Public Service Management Division, should just enhance that so that people are evaluated according to how they performed in that year. And if such characters are there in government, then where is the head teacher? Where is the head of department? And maybe it also calls for education. Maybe the citizens should know that if a child comes to report home that, no, my teacher said this, then the parents should take responsibility and go and engage management at that school. So your teachers here have got this attitude, so how are we going to have our children pass the exams?
I know the current administration, the UPND government, are very much echo in ensuring, they're in full gear rather, in ensuring that they bring sanity in different sectors of the country. How do you think with such kind of mentality by civil servants toward work, how do you think this will help us achieve our vision of becoming a middle country, stable income country?
In fact, you have correct to put it, they're in full gear, but for me, they should do more. Because they have got a mammoth task to cleanse the public service from political inclinations. This one, it's a known fact. We know a lot of colleagues became partisan because they wanted to be promoted. And they were promoted, even when maybe they didn't have the requisite qualifications. A lot of them. That's why you see government, maybe a certain minister will announce this, 2 days down the line, you discover that what the minister has announced has not been implemented. It's because there are still remnants of public service workers who were politically inclined. And to deal with such a situation, to deal with such a process, it needs a lot of effort. Because if they identify them, so what will happen next? They'll be identified to say, yes, this director, this HR, this head of department is inclined to a political party. So what charges will they give them? So to uproot that system, they shouldn't just be rhetoric, because what we have observed is there's too much talking. Yes, we appreciate the talking, they're in full gear, but can that talking be implemented or be translated into action? If there's a proof that a civil servant is politically inclined and he is becoming a stumbling block to the development of this country, can the controlling officer take charge and take disciplinary measures? Because the terms and conditions are very clear. Civil servants are supposed to be non-partisan, but if you find yourself being a political sympathizer, why should you be there? We do not want to see a situation that we see in the past there, that cadres walk into an office to come and harass a civil servant, and the PS is there seated. Because the PS knows this cadre, he allows such nonsense to happen. It shouldn't happen this time around. And what I want to advise the new Dawn administration is they should stop talking too much. Let them act, especially in the civil service. If they are to achieve their goals of developing this country to make it a middle-income country, the civil service is very key to this development. And as long as they've got a compromised civil service, I can assure you they will not go anywhere. I'm speaking this as a labor leader because I know we've been called to disciplinary meetings where your member is accused of being politically inclined. So I'm telling the UPND government to say, can they pull their socks? Let them talk less and act more so that they cleanse the system. What we want ourselves, even if we are leaders, yes, what we want is a public service which is going to deliver development to this country. A development which me and my children are going to benefit. Even after I've left public service, I should say the civil servants have implemented government policies which are benefiting me and my people in the rural areas of Zambia. That is the civil service we aspire to have.
Yes, definitely. And maybe talking on issues such as maybe NAPSA, we've seen a lot of retirees maybe complaining about their money and all that. So earlier we saw suggestions to maybe introduce pre-retirement benefits. So can just highlight maybe what benefits that this will bring, and also do most civil servants benefit from NEMA? What is the current state of NEMA?
To start with NAPSA, I agree with the direction that the new Dawn government has taken to have quick and urgent pension reforms. You may be aware, as a Zipporah, that in this country, in the public service, we have got the Public Service Pensions Fund, we have got the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, we have got the Local Authorities Superannuation Fund. This is for local authorities, and Public Service Pension Fund is for Central Civil Service. NAPSA is for everybody in this country. So the NAPSA Act is Act number 40 of 1996. The PSPF Act is Act number 35 of 1996. They were both formulated in 1996. But the PSPF Act was implemented there and then. NAPSA, there were some deliberations until up to 2000, when they said all the employees who are going to be employed in government after 2000 are going to contribute to the public service, to the National Pension Scheme Authority. This was to make sure that they run away from a system where employees of government, when they retire, are given a lump sum, huge amount of money, then they are maintained on the payroll. And what we saw as an excuse, which was being spearheaded by those who were pushing for NAPSA, was that people, when they get huge sums of money at retirement, they do not use that money properly. Some of them do not invest it, some of them they just squander it. We used to hear stories where a retiree has booked a room with a young lady, and in the process they've stolen his money. So maybe they said, if we have something like NAPSA where people are not paid lump sum, but they're just paid a certain income per month until they die, maybe it is okay. The way NAPSA is currently structured is good in an economy where the conditions of service are very good. That during your time of working, you are able to invest. So that by the time you retire, that money is just meant to take care of you in retirement. But currently in Zambia, the conditions of service for public service workers is very pathetic. We still have got workers in the government who are getting 4,000 kwacha. With the current economy, you've seen the basic needs basket, how much is needed for a family of 4 or 5 here in Osaka. So what we need now is a situation where these workers, there are two things that the government has to do. If they are not able to improve the conditions of service so that the workers are able to use that money they are getting to borrow for investment, then what they should do is the proposal to get mid-term package is good, because you'll be able to access this money while you are still energetic, and you will be able to invest it. I want to disagree with some sentiments from certain leaders who are saying because the civil servants are highly indebted, if you give them mid-term, they will misuse the money. That's an insult to civil servants. Civil servants are mature people who know how to use their money. The same people were making those comments. They were also they also worked. If they misuse their money during their time, it is them. The current civil servants, they know the usage of their money. So if they are giving a part payment of that money whilst they are still legitimate, they'll be able to invest it. So I would agree with that. though it needs a lot of research. And therefore, government through NAPSA should bring on board a lot of stakeholders to make sure that what will be agreed will be beneficial to all the people. All the public service workers should be happy with what will be agreed. Not where a small group who goes around, even goes out of the country to make consultations and then come back and want and impose such things on the workers. We shall not accept this time around.
Okay, and so just now we'll take a look at one of the stories that we compiled actually on NAPSA, and we'll be back to discuss in detail. And just a reminder to our viewers, we can do call in and be able to pick up your call. So let's take a look at this story on NAPSA. The Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia, SAWUZ, has called for amendments to various acts under the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, to ensure that these acts benefit workers. In an interview, Union Secretary General Mr. Makai notes that despite various calls for acts under the authority to be relooked at, nothing has been done to date. The SAWUZ Secretary General notes that there is urgent need for amendments to various acts, especially those that speak on investments. He says investments, such as the announcement made on Friday by the authority to pump in $3 million United States towards rehabilitating the Livingstone Golf Course, have little value to those who contribute to the scheme, as opposed to investments such as markets.
That they are planning to invest $3 million in facelifting or restructuring the golf course in Livingstone. The question we want to ask is, what will be the benefit of the worker? NAPSA has invested workers' money in infrastructure. It has invested workers' money in real estates. It has invested workers' money in building markets, in building bus stations. Of course, these are investments which at the end of the day will bring returns which NAPSA management will be able to pay the employees as they retire. However, as a union, we have put a concern and a challenge. Why don't NAPSA, through the minister, in fact, we want to ask the Honorable Minister of Labour, where NAPSA falls under, to bring to the next sitting of Parliament an amendment to the NAPSA Act, so that the formula which NAPSA uses to calculate the benefits is amended. We want it to be amended so that it provides for payment of lump sum.
Mr. Makai notes that there is also a need to hit costs for workers to be able to benefit from the scheme even before retirement, to enable them to make investments in various ventures.
You know, their lifespan, our life expectancy has reduced, or it does reduce because of the environment under which we are living. The economy is too harsh, and in the past 10 years, you agree with me that even accessing medication in the hospitals was difficult. So, if employees are given a chance to borrow whilst they are still saving, if employees are given a chance to get a part payment of the lump sum whilst they are still saving and they are still energetic, they will be using that money prudently because they will be able to invest it. They will still have the energy to invest. Not when you reach 60 years, that's when you get the money. What are you going to use it for? Of course, we are aware that in its current form, that money is meant to take care of an employee in his old age. But that's why we are demanding, can it be amended?
The union leader notes that if the cause are not taken into consideration, the union, in the company of other concerned stakeholders, will petition Parliament when it resumes sitting to have the concerns heard. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. So there you have it. There are also some concerns saying NAPSA should invest its money wisely. Just a highlight on that, Mr. Makai.
Yes, you may be aware that currently there's still a standoff between NAPSA and the Livingstone City Council. NAPSA funded the completion of that market in Livingstone and the bus station. But up to now, those facilities have not been opened. We are told this because there are still some standoff between the two of who is supposed to collect the revenue from those two places. And those are the issues we are talking about, investing workers' money prudently. In fact, we are aware that a pension scheme, one of their primary objectives is to invest the workers' money so that at the time these workers retire, they are able to access this money. But some of the investments raise eyebrows. NAPSA, we have had the NAPSA buying huge chunks of land at exorbitant prices, the workers' money. We have seen those investments where they've built houses, or maybe your colleagues from the private sector were able to buy those houses at 700,000. My members, our members, us in the civil service, you get a loan, it's 80,000 to buy a visa. That's the maximum you can get as a loan. So if I'm not able to get a loan of up to 100,000, how am I going to manage to buy those houses built by NAPSA, which are being sold at 500 or 600,000? So now, one of the things we are calling for is, can NAPSA open up to their members? Public service microfinance, public service pensions fund, they have got an in-house microfinance. Why can't also NAPSA do the same, where they open up a microfinance where members will borrow, of course at a minimum interest rate, so that they are weaned from these exorbitant interest rates we are seeing on the open market. But people today, government workers today, are going for Kalova, they are going for 45% interest because they have got nowhere to go to. Meanwhile, NAPSA is keeping their money and investing their money in building up stations and markets. Golf fields where no civil servants will even go there and play golf because we don't even have. So the issues are that we are concerned. So as these reforms are coming, one, can the board make sure that they supervise NAPSA to make proper investments which will bring back proceeds to the members who are owners of NAPSA? Two, they should come up with a structure which will be beneficial to the employees of government, because I'm coming from government, employees of government who are members of NAPSA. So those are some of our concerns, to say, can they prudently invest our money, because that is our money. We don't want to see a situation, because NAPSA was on holiday from 2000 to 2015. They were not paying out any money to the retirees, because for you to access NAPSA benefits, you have to work for 15 years or contribute for 180 months, which translates to 15 months. So from inception 2000 to 2015, they were not paying out. So they've made a lot of money. That's why maybe they're even ending up investing in certain things which are questionable. But now with these reforms, which we are seriously supporting, we want them to invest the money prudently, so that we do not want to see a situation in the future where people will be start queuing for their money because there's no money. Like we saw public service pensions fund. We don't want that situation to happen with the NAPSA.
It's quite known that most of civil servants are very packed or booked with loans. And then last year, during just near to the elections, we saw the previous administration introducing a debt swap. And though it was criticized by different opposition political parties, and then most of the civil servants welcomed the move. Do you think it was prudent for the government to leave the debt swap than scrapping it off?
I'll go back to the topic which is there, depoliticizing the civil service. Certain decisions which were made in the past were nothing but based on political inclination, political expedience. So now the unions and the government have been sitting over this issue. When that issue came, it was taken back on the collective bargaining table, and from that table it was referred to a joint technical committee. The joint technical committee has reported back to government and the unions. So what needs to happen now is that resolution or that decision should be communicated to the employees, and I think at an option time, workers, I think maybe government and the labor leaders might go out to explain the outcome and the recommendation of the joint technical committee. But what I want to advise going forward is public service workers, permanent secretaries, directors, can you please advise government correctly? Can you advise your ministers correctly? Do not advise your ministers based on political inclinations and for political expedience. That is wrong in the civil service.
Yes. And Mr. Makai, earlier we heard, we've been hearing anyway civil servants complaining about the NEMA. What's the update? Is it now functioning normally? Because we've heard many civil servants saying, no, I've gone to the hospital, I've been required to pay this and this, despite me actually contributing this money.
The issue of NEMA is indeed a very big issue. We've gone around the country and most workers are complaining. And we were privileged last week, I think we met NEMA management. There are a lot of issues surrounding that. One of the issues is that maybe NEMA is finding itself in certain challenges, maybe because it is not paying these facilities. And if they are not paying, the question is, are they getting the funding from government? That 1% which is being deducted from the worker and the 1% from the employer, are they getting it? If they are getting it, The question is, why are they not paying these health facilities? Is it not enough? So that's the first question. Second question, maybe the employees, they are contributing and some employers are not contributing. So what has NEMA done to engage government, maybe second to cabinet, to say there are some employers who are not contributing their part of 1%. And as such, since this is a contributor, the employees are contributing, the employers are contributing. Immediately one part does not contribute, it affects the service delivery. So what has NEMA done and the board to engage government through second to cabinet to say there are such employees who are not getting a service, but meanwhile their money is being deducted. It's very painful that you are contributing for a service, then you are not getting that service. So it's as good as just stopping to contribute. They are talking that they want to have a universal health coverage system in Zambia, but are we going to manage that? So the question is, if the money is not enough, it simply means us the workers are not enough to contribute for everybody. So as the government is formulating the budget for 2023, let them come up with other measures and avenues of revenue collection which will enhance the health system service delivery. Not only depending on my 1% and your 1%, it's not enough. How many workers are working today in Zambia against the population of about 18 million? So maybe if it is to contribute and have a universal health coverage, maybe let us have a situation where all the citizens contribute. But the complaints from our members, yes, they are very genuine, and we have a lot of members who are complaining that they are not getting the services.
All right, we have a call, Mr. Maka, just a minute.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Tanya.
Yes, kindly tell us your name.
I'm watching your program.
Okay, thank you so much.
What I want to find out is on this NAPSA, the payments that you'll be making for those who are still working. I just want to get a clarification. What about those of us who were tired and were getting these monthly payments from NAPSA? What happens? Because we also need this money to put no projects to cheaper. So I want a clarification on that one. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Kindly tell us your name and where you're calling us from before you go.
I'm calling from Osaka. My name is
Mrs. Zulu, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Hello.
Yes, thank you very much for your comment.
I'm calling in Osaka. My name is Mrs. Zulu.
All right, yes, noted. Thank you very much. Okay, just are you able to respond to that?
Unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer, but I hear that those of us who are learned, they say law does not work in retrospect. So at the time that the consultations are going to be concluded, it means there will be an amendment to the NAPSA Act to provide for how the monies are supposed to be paid to the employees. And I presume at that point, from that time when the president will assent to that bill, if it will be a bill, going forward, that's when people will benefit. So some of those, unfortunately, who have retired and are getting these peanuts, it is an unfortunate situation. That's why we should not continue with that. Of course, some people have to lay down their life for others to live. So those who might, unfortunately, be disadvantaged by that, there's nothing we can do. But from my little understanding is that the law does not work in retrospect, and therefore it will start to be implemented from the time the law will be amended.
As we come to the conclusion of our program, I know there was an increment of salaries for civil servants. But then, do you think we need to revisit or review this to ensure that we improve better working conditions for civil servants in terms of salary increment, to ensure that we don't have face this unprofessionalism in terms of where you see someone joining political parties so that they can get, more funds,
No, salary reviews are done annually. And of course, we monitor the performance of the economy and the monthly bulletins from Zamstats, which gives us the monthly bulletins on the inflation. So it will be very difficult for government and the labor unions to negotiate for improved conditions every time there's a change. It's very difficult. That's why we do it annually. And to tell you the truth, the government salary is not enough to give us a good life, a better life. That's why this government has got a lot of work to do. It has a lot of work to do because workers in this country are owed setting in allowances. Some of the people are employed and 10 years down the line they are not paid setting in allowance. You may wish to know that setting in allowance is intended.
You have another call, Mr. Makai. Just hold on. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, can you tell us your name, where you're calling us from, and your contribution?
We can get you, sir. Please, can you tell us your name and where you're calling us from?
Hello.
Hello, we can get you. Are you able to get us?
Yes, madam.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I'm going to topic radio.
Okay.
Awayagaji ali pakati alinwakamba mulongozi wa Darisa tingatira abantu bafuna tikambirako ingeti musibo sema tibati vitu sivili bwana ndio kwati uwendo katenga loni watenga loni kwa tugero loni ndio sibo tena tena tenga babu le 100 maybe just for the so then katenga maybe for 5 years. Then 40 after 5 years you have to go back and get a loan. And you find that kunapsa wakuji wandrama za. Sure. Bali kutandizana or bali mpayana. Because bamenisha donate nyendo za kantikena nguti anjandizireko. Manje pelati wakuta irati kumoto. Manje lapuru mkirafu. So udana tukambile nkoni. Osayopa yai. Ndi
mwandani zina mwanzo tumira kuti.
Ndi waema wangu within Lusaka.
Okay, siko waema.
When you say waema, but many thoughts. I'm thinking of that guy. Anyway, I'm sure it's just another name.
So I was saying that there are a lot of the salary will not make us comfortable, but there are a lot of other conditions which the government owes the civil servants, but they have not paid. For example, I was talking about setting in allowance. Setting in allowance is intended to, for example, there are going to be employments in education, employments in the health sector. This setting in allowance is intended to be paid to the employee as they are being employed, to help them go and settle where they are going. But a current situation in Zambia is people are paid after 5 years, after 10 years. So, are we being serious? So, people are owed setting in allowance. People are owed leave days. Every day people go on leave, or every after 2 years people go on leave. They are not paid. A huge sum of money is being owed to workers for leave days. Repatriation. People have been retired, but they have not been repatriated. So, as the government is sourcing money to pay off the retirees, as the government is sourcing money to inject into CDF, as the government is sourcing for money, can they also remember the civil servants? We have got an issue of long service bonus. It was abolished in 2012, and a lot of workers were owed that. Up to now, very few have been paid. So those are things where if I'm owed the long service bonus, maybe 10,000 or 15,000, and it is paid to me today, maybe I can think about investing that money so that I cushion the salary which I'm getting. But government has got a huge liability for workers which they have not paid. So that's why I was saying that they should stop talking too much. Let them concentrate, because there's work in those offices. They aspired to come into those offices to give a service to the Zambians, including us as civil servants who are implementing their policies. We are also citizens of this country, and we need to benefit from their policies. So let them reduce on talking and concentrate on action. Let us see actions which are going to translate into a better livelihood for the Zambians, including the public service workers, including the civil servants. Yes. Maybe reacting to the caller.
Okay.
Yes. One thing I've observed, I've worked for a long time in the civil service, and I've been representing workers for a long time. What I've seen is most of us as public service workers, we just borrow from here, get a top up from here, get a top up from there. We even see competitions within a home. I was not privileged to go to the University of Zambia, maybe because of circumstances in life. I get married to this woman, we have children, and our child is very sharp, reaches grade 12 with 6 points, needs to go to the University of Zambia. I have seen situations in this country where people are going to the bank to borrow, to take their child to Unza, to borrow, to take myself to Mungushi University, to borrow, to take my wife to university at the same time. It's like we're competing within ourselves. Everybody has to get a degree. And that's why people are complaining, no, Malonzi. Sometimes it is the personal, the decisions we make. Because if I didn't have the privilege to go to the University of Zambia, can I maybe borrow and take my child to the University of Zambia? Me, I'll go, maybe time has passed. But we see situation in a home as if you are competing. The woman is at university, The husband is at Mulungushi, the child is at with the government side. It's not possible.
Let me just hold your thought there. We have a caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
We seem to have lost that one. Unfortunately, it's actually 9 hours.
Yeah.
So we just conclude under a minute, Mr. Maka. It has been a very interesting segment.
Thank you very much. To sum it all, I just want to urge government to make sure that they implement policies which will benefit the civil servants and the general citizen at large. The civil service is the engine of government, and so they should service it, because for an engine to run properly, it has to be serviced. So let them take time to service the civil service by paying them whatever is accrued to them, whatever they are owed. On the other side, I want to urge our colleagues in the public service to try by all means to be professional. We have seen a lot of casualties in the past regime. More than 3,000 workers were retired on national interest, even if that national interest was misused. So can they be professional and make sure that they work according to the terms and conditions given to them in the public service? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It has been a very, very interesting topic. We were discussing the politicization of the civil service with Sawul's General Secretary, Mr. Makai. Earlier, we were joined by Mr. Francis Kamwena, who is a human rights activist, and we were discussing working conditions for international truck drivers. This is where we come to the end of the show for today. Do join us tomorrow. Miriam?
Yes, exactly, Zipporah, and I hope we'll have a lot of more interesting segments for our viewers tomorrow morning. Please don't forget to catch us live on Camnet TV. We do stream live as well on Facebook page. In case you missed the program, please go back on our Facebook page and follow that beautiful discussion we had this morning. For me and the rest of the technical guys in the studio, it's bye-bye and stay blessed.